right, welcome to the first edition of Money Books. So I want to start this series kind of like a daily dive into money books, why I'm building out this community, why I want to help people fast track financial freedom, how these books help my life out, the strategies, the tools I used from these books, and get all that out there. But I'm also going to share just kind of like more of my thought process, my strategy. I've been teaching money online for coming up on 10 years next month. Today's Halloween, and yeah, it's been quite a journey. I've worked with thousands of students and have dealt with millions of readers and listeners. I've gotten a lot of comments over the years, but I want to share with you kind of the tips, the tricks, what worked for me, but also just what worked in teaching, what were those aha moments. And the vehicle I want to use to kind of share that knowledge is basically the vehicle that I learned everything from. And it was a lot of these money books about money, personal finance, successful stories of people who created a business. I mean, I read books about like the robber barons and kind of the crazy hectic negotiations and like cutthroat tactics that they used. But I also read about, like charities and foundations and sort of just anyone dealing with money, whether that's spending the money, kind of getting into the art of spending, and a few other categories there, but also just, again, people who rapidly increased their net worth through owning a company, those money books. But also I just want to go to like the core of it, basically personal finance 101, really simple money books that basically anyone can use to escape living paycheck to paycheck to building wealth rapidly and very fast, being able to fast track their financial freedom. This is one of my favorite books on money, but before I dig into that, I just want to say, when there's money books, there's kind of like two kind of categories, I'd say, for the money topics. There's people who pretty much want to save more. They want to be more frugal, they want to be more thrifty, they want to, it can go as extreme as coupon clipping, and all of that. I never got into that, but I was extreme. I was doing meal planning and cooking rice and beans for lunch. So there's the people who want to save more on one end of the spectrum. It's not really end of spectrum. This is, again, just kind of the full 24/7 insight into what I'm thinking, but it's not really the spectrum. It's more of just two different categories. There's one category that wants to save more, and the second category are people that want to make more. And I think it's not really a spectrum. It's more just two different camps, because sometimes you give a piece of information out to somebody and it doesn't click, or they don't see how they can apply it or implement it in their lifestyle, because they're really in one of these two camps. And so the way they view money is through, okay, that's great, but I don't make more money. I just want to save what I'm already making. And so if they hear about negotiating for a severance package or a salary increase or a promotion or how to negotiate, like that doesn't really fit into their view of, I make money and now I want to save more money. So I love this book because it talks a lot about saving money in terms of what's the lifestyle of millionaires. Like, what do they spend their money on? What kind of cars do they drive? Where do they go for vacation? Where do they shop for their clothes? It goes through all the nuts and bolts of like their spend. And the reason why I got two books up here is this one tends to get more into it talks about the millionaire mind, yes, but more of like the mindset, the attitudes, the lens that they have, millionaires have, again, thousands of millionaires they surveyed over the years, but the lens that they have when they decide, okay, is this financial investment like worth the risk? Is this worth pursuing? Is this the type of business I want to be in? What type of business should I be in? The millionaire mind digs more into like the make more. So I guess, yeah, in a way, for these money books, we're starting off with one of the most famous personal finance books, I think, of all time, The Millionaire Next Door. And we're also kind of covering The Millionaire Mind. So we're kind of covering a save more book and a make more book at the same time. So yeah, I'd say a lot of great things about this book personally for me that I got out of it. It's probably the fourth or fifth personal finance book I read. By this point I've read well over 100 books. Just in that short sprint back in many years ago, I read at least 100 books on personal finance. It's probably up to like 200 now, but I kind of stopped because I think if anything I go back and reread the classics, and that's kind of what I'm doing this next year through money books, and I'm excited for anybody that's joining in for that. So this book, I'd say phenomenal in terms of, again, just understanding Millionaires, not like how to get rich or how to make money. It's, wait a minute, let's just look at the people who are already millionaires and just look back over 20, 30 years. What did they do? How do they think about money? Where's their money coming from? So it's just really tangible, like a lot of surveys, a lot of results. And these are people that, like, there's a lot of short stories that are fun to tell, like where I think they're down in Texas and they're basically hosting a brunch through a bank or through this institution, and they've invited out the people that have responded to the surveys. So these are people I think that are all worth at least 10 million or plus. And so they have this image of, okay, they're gonna be showing up in like fancy suits. They even got like caviar set aside at this space for all of them. And I think like the first guy that walks in, he's basically like wearing jeans. He looks like he just like came off a ranch, like he's like, just came off like, whatever, working on a ranch, like kind of dusty, whatever. And he's like, I don't want champagne. It's like, I just want some beer. And I think they offer like some premium imported beer they got. And this is like 15, 20 years ago. But I think the phrase is like, he's like, there's two kinds of beer I like, Free and Budweiser. So it's like, I don't know, it's like he's got all the money, he's got all this money from his businesses of cattle ranching or whatever he's got going, and yet his tastes haven't changed, right? So it's not like he's not digging into the caviar. I think he just like looks at it, he's like, what's this? So again, like short little stories like that, just kind of fun stuff. I got a lot out of the book in terms of just those short stories. They also do some big analogies. The big one that was really helpful, I think, for most people, again, in the Save More or the Make More, they talk about two high income earners. I want to say they're both relatively high income. And it's basically Mr. North and Dr. South. So again, first video, we'll be getting more in the flow as these things go on. But there's Mr. North and Dr. South. And it basically walks through the buying behavior, the decisions. One person shops at a discount retail store for clothes, or they shop online. The other person shops at Nordstrom's or Saks Fifth Avenue, right? Like these places where there's a little bit more of a premium around clothing. But it also talks about like, one person leases out a luxury car, the other person buys, a car that's like 3 to 5 years used. And just talks about just their cash flows, like where's it going, oddly enough, Mr. North pays less in taxes because he's using tax-advantaged retirement accounts. Dr. South, if I'm getting the names correct, he's paying more in taxes, and so he's more sensitive to any sort of tax changes. So again, it's like if you're worried about taxes, by investing more, that worry goes down. You pay less in taxes. But it just goes through, and I think it's like a whole chapter of just like the differences in every single aspect of like how they teach education to their kids, what kind of education they are into. So I love that story of just, two real life characters. Basically, I would imagine they probably put together a few different people that they had met to kind of form, Mr. North and Dr. South. But you kind of read through it and you're like, I know quite a few people that act like this. And then, you might have heard my dog there just howl. She'll be making her guest appearances on the show, or whatever you want to call this. So this episode might be ending early here. But again, so that's Millionaire Next Door. It also talks about how they invest their money, what their net worth, what their net worth is tied up in, what kind of assets. And Millionaire Mind, maybe I'll dig into that more, but this is more about, again, how they go about approaching investments, how they make their money, what kind of business ventures they get into. So yeah, we'll be ending this first episode early. Again, money books, I'm excited to be bringing this to you. We'll be talking about all categories of within the money categories, right? We'll be talking about all sorts of subsets of money, but I think about it just two big ones: save more, make more. I want to be talking to both crowds, because I think the saving crowd is really how to get to 50K, and I talk about how I was able to get there with about 100K in income, getting to 50K invested. And then for the make more crowd, if you're looking to try to invest more per year, working your way up to 100K, I think then you get into more of these make more categories and all the different subsets there. So overall, I'll give myself an A+ on this video, and next time we'll plan accordingly with the dog. So see you guys tomorrow. Until next time, peace.